The year is 1987. You just got a promotion at the firm and you want the world to know. You want the cachet of a Mercedes-Benz, however, your promotion wasn't that good. Enter the Chrysler Fifth Avenue, a car for those who want to show the world that you've made it, but in reality, you're not quite there yet.
This is my 1987 Chrysler Fifth Avenue, Mark Cross interior with fine Corinthian leather.
Corinthian leather? Soft Corinthian leather.
I've only had this car for a few weeks and it's already provided me with a ton of great stories. We drove it to the Radwood Car Show, we found a bag of cocaine in the ashtray, and we hired a drug-sniffing dog to look for more. We disposed of the cocaine, and now I can finally make a video with this car without worrying about getting arrested for possession of an illicit narcotic. The M-body platform that this Fifth Avenue is based on was introduced way back in the 70s, and it soldiered on relatively unchanged until 1989. By the mid-80s, this traditional slab-sided design felt a bit ancient, especially when contrasted with where car designs were headed, such as the Ford Taurus introduced in 1986. Though somehow, Chrysler managed to sell over 100,000 of these in 1985 and again in 1986. The Fifth Avenue certainly wasn't forward-thinking. A heavy, floaty, gas-guzzling, carbureted, rear-wheel drive car. This was a vehicle for traditionalists and purists who refused to acknowledge where the auto industry was headed. A car for grandfathers, essentially. The Fifth Avenue is a perfect car for your 1980s grandpa. Let's take a closer look at some of the exterior features of this Fifth Avenue. This lovely vinyl-padded landau roof with Fifth Avenue edition emblems. Electroluminescent opera lamps, which no longer work. Most of these probably stopped working sometime in 1988. And this completely old school grille. Side mirrors with this elegant script Chrysler logo. These optional alloy wheels with white walls. And this stylish Crystal Pentastar Chrysler emblem. So how about we take a look under this insanely long angular hood. From 84 to 89, all Fifth Avenues were powered by the 5.2-liter V8 engine. The standard 2-barrel version made 140 horsepower, but this is a California-specific model with a 4-barrel carburetor, rated at 170 horsepower. Yep, Chrysler was still building carbureted engines in 1989. The Fifth Avenue is one of the last of this breed. Let's take a look inside, where you're greeted with what I might argue are the most comfortable seats I have ever rested my butt on. These button-tufted seats are covered in fine Corinthian leather. And the word Corinthian? That's just a marketing term. It doesn't actually mean anything. Take a look at this deep pile carpeting. So soft you might want to just lean over and rub your face on it. Up here's where the luxury appointments start to feel like faux luxury. The gauges are relatively plain, but it does have this fancy Crystal Pentastar logo. Ooh, shiny. Check out this old stereo and cassette player with graphic EQ. Fancy. Yeah, it doesn't work. And look at this incredibly large gas gauge, which is the same size as the speedometer. I suppose when you get gas mileage this bad, you want to keep close tabs on your fuel level. Today I thought we could take this luxury barge to the city of Beverly Hills so we could see and experience some of the opulent attractions that city has to offer. This is a fitting car for that city, wouldn't you think? Let's go! So how does it drive? In a word, floaty, like any 80s American luxury barge should be. It takes very little effort to steer, making pinky driving a breeze. This is a must-have feature for all 1980s grandpas. When driving this boat on wheels, the word handling will never really cross your mind. Yes, it can turn, but a lot of times it feels like you're catching a little three-wheel motion. Whoa. I mean, the steering is pretty responsive, but as you might have guessed, there's just a ton of body lean. Well, what about acceleration? With this big 5.2-liter V8 under the hood, it feels like it should be quick, but this car won't win many drag races. A lot of the V8 barges from the 80s offer somewhat pathetic performance by today's standards. So yeah, I think it would be a good idea to see how fast this luxury barge really is. Let's do a little 0 to 60 test. 0 to 60 test in 3, 2, 1, go. Spun one of the tires, I think because this thing's a peg leg. 40, first gear, 45. Got this thing floored. 55, 60. Felt a little terrible for a big V8, but not for a big V8 from the 80s. And keep in mind, this car is 30 years old, it's got an exhaust leak, and who knows how many horsepower is still left in this old engine. All right, let's see if we can find a spot to park on the famous Rodeo Drive. Great. All right, so I got a parking spot on North Rodeo Drive, and it just so happens that I parked in front of one of the places I wanted to show you. Let's go check it out.
I like seeking out weird architecture. This one here is certainly one of the more unusual structures in Beverly Hills. This is the O'Neill House. It was renovated in the 1980s, and it was an homage to the surreal architect Antoni Gaudi. It kind of looks like it's made out of marshmallow, or like it was built by a cake designer. I don't think I'd do this to my house, but I give them credit for being incredibly committed. The owner died before this house was finished, but his wife completed the project and apparently still lives here to this day. And you get down to the end here and you can see what lies beneath this fanciful creation. A bunch of cinder blocks.
All right, let's head on down Rodeo Drive. So Beverly Hills is a bit weird to me. On one hand, it's sort of an obnoxious celebration of money. But on the other hand, it's an appreciation of the finer things in life. All right, so I'm not really into this sort of extravagance. Let's see if we can find something a bit more interesting. All this walking around and I'm getting a hankering for a cupcake. A very expensive cupcake. This isn't my scene. I gotta get the hell out of here. The Fifth Avenue is not widely held in high esteem, but just look at this thing. It's got that 80s luxury pretentiousness that's actually quite endearing now. This car has been out of our collective consciousness for so long now that we can return to it with a tinge of nostalgia. A reminder of a time when a few cars bucked the trend of downsizing and modernizing and sold quite well doing it. I'm starting to see these cars in the hands of a younger generation, handed down from great-grandfathers or maybe picked up in an estate sale. These new owners are eager to experience something that many of us took for granted in the 80s. The last of the traditional V8 rear-wheel drive American luxury sedans. Thanks for joining me on my journey today. Do you have any suggestions for places I should check out or obscure cars to purchase? Let me know. See you later.